Rekan-rekan sekalian, Ibu Bapak, bertemu lagi dengan Puji Pujiono dari Rumah Resiliensi Indonesia yang diselenggarakan dalam kaitannya dengan Global Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction yang ke-7 dilaksanakan di Bali, Indonesia. Saya berkesempatan untuk berbincang-bincang dengan Mas Fakih dari Basnas yang sudah mendirikan satu stand di Rumah Resiliensi Indonesia. Sebentar saya akan minta Mas Fakih untuk memperkenalkan dirinya dan memperkenalkan Basnas, juga programnya terkait dengan penanggulangan bencana dan dalam Rumah Resiliensi Indonesia. Mas Fakih, selamat datang, terima kasih.
Terima kasih Pak Puji.
Baik, untuk kesempatan pertama saya persilakan Mas Fakih memperkenalkan diri, namanya siapa, kemudian jabatannya apa, pekerjaannya apa, silakan.
Baik. Selamat siang sahabat tangguh BNPB Indonesia. Perkenalkan, nama saya Ilman Fakih Sibuatullah. Biasanya kalau di Basnas saya dipanggilnya Fakih aja.
Fakih.
Okay. Atau kalau di sini juga Mas Fakih biasa.
Dalam
bisa.
Rumah Resiliensi Indonesia.
Di Basnas saya sendiri di bagian pendidikan pasca bencana dan termasuk yang pengelolaan relawan ya di Basnas, termasuk pengelolaan relawan. Dan oh iya, Basnas sendiri mungkin teman-teman BNPB TV atau sahabat tangguh yang yang sedang menyaksikan belum tahu ya. Jadi Basnas ini Badan Amil Zakat Nasional, sebuah lembaga non struktural di bawah Kementerian Agama yang mana kita bertugas mengelola dana zakat ya, mengelola dana zakat dan menghimpun dana zakat. Nah, di panggung Rumah Resiliensi ini Pak Puji, ya. Kita memperkenalkan produk board game kita. Ini board game anak bangsa.
Board game, ya? Okay.
Ya, board game anak bangsa yang memang sudah kita sebar ke hampir seluruh Indonesia, hampir seluruh Indonesia, di mana kita sasarannya di sini guru.
Oh, oke. Ini board game untuk guru. Board game untuk guru, karena kalau untuk guru biasanya lebih sustain. Oh gitu. Lebih sustain ke anak-anaknya. Jadi ini adalah board game siaga, kepanjangan dari siap tanggap bencana, yang mana board game ini kita susun, kita asesmen dari awal ini sejak gempa Lombok. Coba saya tanya dulu. Tadi menyasar guru karena lebih sustainable katanya. Kenapa board game? Karena board game ini adalah media yang menyenangkan. Segala jenis game, kenapa dipilih board game, Mas Fakih? Oke, karena pertama mungkin udah banyak media pembelajaran kita yang berbasis digital. Tapi media pembelajaran berbasis digital ini punya kelemahan di daerah-daerah Indonesia yang memang tidak ada sinyal, tidak ada listrik, tidak ada HP, tidak ada HP juga, kita nggak ada perangkat, nggak ada laptop segala macam. Makanya kita ciptakan board game, media pembelajaran yang lebih interaktif. Jadi di board game siaga ini kita sasarannya guru, lalu di sini ada beberapa kartu indikator. Jadi si guru adalah sebagai fasilitator di sana. Di sini ada beberapa kartu indikator latihan, ada informasi. Bisa dilihatkan ke pemirsa. Nah, ini pemirsa BNPB Indonesia. Ini adalah kartu latihan. Di mana di kartu latihan ini ada tulisan ya, ada ceritanya di sini yang bisa nanti guru yang menjadi fasilitator men-sharingkan ke anak-anaknya, menceritakan ke anak-anaknya apa itu banjir, jika terjadi banjir di sekolah atau di rumahnya harus apa, seperti itu. Ini kartu latihan untuk mempersiapkan sebelum terjadinya bencana. Jadi di board game siaga ini kita ada 3 tahapan. Pertama pra bencana, kita menyiapkan kartu latihan dan informasi. Nah, di sini juga ada informasi yang pra bencana apa saja isinya, Mas? Nah di sini ada beberapa kartu informasi. Yang biru ini pra bencana. Iya, yang biru ini pra bencana, kartu-kartu informasi termasuk informasi apa itu BMKG, apa itu kelompok rentan, yang nanti diceritakan oleh gurunya. Kelompok rentan adalah anak-anak, disabilitas, terus ada orang lanjut usia dan lain-lain, dan beberapa ancaman. Ada tadi menyebut apa itu BMKG gitu ya? BMKG itu Badan Meteorologi. Artinya di sini disebut apa itu BMKG gitu ya? Iya. Selain BMKG ada nggak lembaga lain yang disebutkan di sini? Untuk sementara hanya BMKG aja di sini. Tapi kalau untuk gunung berapi kan bukan BMKG. Jadi informasi dari bencana tersendiri itu biasanya didapatkan dari BMKG, karena biasanya kalau terjadi suatu bencana TV atau media-media itu langsung yang mengabarkan adalah BMKG. Jadi kita share ke anak agar mereka tahu media mana yang nantinya akan men-share ketika terjadi bencana di daerahnya gitu. Klimatologi dan
geofisika.
Iya.
Badan Meteorologi, Klimatologi, Geofisika. Ini 3 jenis ancaman.
3 jenis ancaman. Di sini ada.
Kemudian ada vulkanologi tidak masuk.
Iya.
Kemudian ada bencana apa lagi yang tidak masuk kategori BMKG. Ini yang dimainkan dari mana bahannya? Belum dimasukkan atau tidak dimasukkan?
Untuk sementara di board game ini memang kita hanya menyasar yang tsunami, banjir. Jadi hanya bencana alam.
Jenis bencananya
bencana alam. Non alam kita memang belum masukkan.
Gunung vulkanologi, gunung berapi itu kan alam juga, Mas.
Iya.
Tapi tidak masuk di sini maksudnya.
Masuk.
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 Tapi bukan BMKG.
Bukan BMKG.
Oke. Baik. Jadi menyasar bencana alam.
Ya.
Dan bencana tertentu yaitu gempa bumi, tsunami.
Ya. Banjir. Dan Gunung Merapi.
Gunung Berapi masuk. Oke, baik.
Vulkano. Di sini ada.
Jadi yang pertama tadi informasi tentang prabencana. Terus yang kedua,
lalu informasi pada saat terjadi bencana. Nah, nanti pada saat terjadi bencana ini mereka diajak untuk bagaimana caranya mengurangi resiko. Jadi
pada saat terjadi bencana.
Di sini mereka mengumpulkan kartu informasi, kartu pelatihan dan relawannya untuk mengurangi resiko bencana di sana. Jadi di sini kan ada kartu indikator wilayahnya. Nah, ini saya dapat wilayah pantai.
Oh gitu.
Kalau si adik-adik atau siswa yang memainkan ini dapat wilayah pantai dan misalkan di sini jumlah dari masyarakatnya ada 16 kakak maksimal ya. Nah, ketika mereka ada kartu indikator bencana dari kartu-kartu ini. Dan terjadi bencana, bagaimana caranya mereka harus mengurangi resiko dari bencana atau mengurangi korban. Jadi tim yang paling banyak bisa mengurangi korban di dalam permainan ini, dia adalah tim yang berhasil.
Dan yang ketiga adalah tentang
pasca bencana.
Di pasca bencana ada apa?
Pasca bencana kita punya kartu gotong royong dan kartu bantuan. Nah, di sini juga siswa diajak mengenal apa saja sih bantuan yang ada ketika terjadi bencana. Nah, di sini kita masukkan kartu gotong royong itu sebagai local wisdom ya, Pak. Karena di Indonesia gotong royong ya yang biasanya di
Jadi untuk pemulihan gotong royong semangat ya.
Gotong royong. Nah, di sini ada kartu pakaian layak pakai. Lalu ada kartu obat-obatan. Nah, ketika terjadi bencana dan sudah selesai bencana ya, berarti kita masuk ke pasca bencana. Ini si adik-adik di roll berikutnya dia harus merecovery. Merecovery itu caranya dengan menyandingkan kartu bantuan dan kartu gotong royong. Jadi kalau di sini ada bantuan Huntara dan lain-lain, gimana caranya bangun Huntara ya harus ada kartu gotong royong gitu. Seperti itu, Pak.
Ini suatu skema yang sangat menarik, teman-teman, di mana Basnas mencoba untuk mensimulasikan, mengajarkan tentang proses penanggulangan bencana melalui board game. Pertanyaan berikutnya, Mas Fakih. Waktu Basnas menyusun board game ini, siapa saja yang diajak untuk menyusunnya?
Pertama kita mengajak tim yang memang expert membuat board game di Indonesia.
Ini kita, siapa? Ada korporasi atau perusahaan?
Bekerja sama dengan Kumara. Kumara itu salah satunya ada timnya Pak Eko ya. Salah satu dari tim Kumara. Dia yang datang langsung ke Lombok. Kita asesmen awal di sana.
Dia pakar yang mengembangkan board game.
Memang dia sekolah khusus ke Amerika untuk board game gitu. Dan itu orang Indonesia. Jadi memang.
Siapa lagi, Mas? Selain Humara ini.
Setelah board game ini kita susun, kita lihat bagaimana rulesnya. Karena mungkin kalau monopoli, ular tangga dan lain-lain.
Katakanlah selesai, board game sudah dikembangkan oleh Humara, selesai. Setelah itu apa lagi yang dilibatkan?
BNPB dan teman-teman dari Seknas SPAB.
Seknas SPAB dan BNPB.
Lalu dikembangkan, kita buat salah satu forum workshop untuk pengembangan siaga. Setelah jadi siaga, ini adalah hasil akhirnya.
Baik, rekan-rekan sekalian, ini suatu pembicaraan yang sangat menarik dengan Mas Fakih tentang board game yang didesain, dikembangkan oleh Basnas bersama dengan mitra-mitranya yang menyasar kepada para guru untuk mengajarkan, untuk mensimulasikan, melatih orang-orang di sekitarnya termasuk para murid untuk menjadi lebih proaktif terhadap situasi bencana. Mas Fakih, terima kasih. Kalau Mas Fakih punya kesempatan untuk menyampaikan pesan terakhir tentang Basnas dan Siaga, apa yang akan Anda sampaikan pada teman-teman tangguh di BNPB Channel? Silakan.
Teman-teman BNPB, sahabat tangguh, melalui board game Siaga ini, Basnas berkomitmen untuk membawa board game anak bangsa ini ke kancah dunia untuk pengurangan resiko bencana yang lebih masif lagi. Jadi melalui board game Siaga, melalui sekolah-sekolah yang sudah kita berikan Siaga, kita akan mencoba untuk membangun Indonesia yang lebih resiliensi melalui pendidikan.
Baik, rekan-rekan, demikian perbincangan saya dengan Mas Fakih dari Basnas tentang board game Siaga. Terima kasih Mas Fakih, dan sampai jumpa di dalam interview berikutnya. Saya Puji Pujiono dari Rumah Resiliensi Indonesia. Terima kasih. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, this is Puji Pujiono again from the Rumah Resiliensi Indonesia, which is being held here in the beautiful island of Bali in conjunction with the Global Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction 7th Session 2022. And I'm very, very fortunate to have my esteemed colleague Hibak with me from the NEAR Network. Soon I will ask her to introduce herself to you. But Hibak is a really close friend for us from the Global South movement. And we'll be asking her about the relationship or the connection between the Global Platform, the Global South and civil society movement, and how it's heading from now onward. Hibak, thank you for spending your time with us, and welcome to Indonesia, welcome to Bali.
Thank you, Puji.
All right. So as we discussed earlier, right, this is the first time in the history that the Global Platform finally brought into the Global South. Indonesia is lucky to be the one that hosted for the first time. So just on that, in your view, Heibak, what is the significance of having such a, a global event being brought into the Global South to Indonesia? Just in a general view, what do you think?
First of all, thank you for having me. I mean, I think that it's extremely important. Intent, I think, is there within the sector, the humanitarian sector and the development sector. But to see that it's actually physically happening in the Global South is really important. Right. But to me, that's also the first step. It's not as far as the institution and the platform should go, but I think it's a good first step.
It's definitely not a goal. This is the first step towards something else, right?
Yes, that's
now, before we go too far, I think you should introduce yourself, who you are, what you do. Right?
Sure. We went straight into the questions.
Right.
My name is Heibak Khalfan. I'm the Executive Director of the Network for Empowered Aid Response. We are a Global South network of civil society organizations with direct members in 28 countries, but partners such as Puji and the Pujiano Center in 43 countries across the Global South.
Right. And NEAR is now holding the seat at the Grand Bargain.
That's one of the different processes that we engage in, the Grand Bargain. We're a part of the facilitation group. We're also part of the interagency steering committee, a part of the localization working group, and multitude of local and national and regional networks as well.
And I have the honor to sit as the member of facilitation group and as a Sherpa on behalf of the NEAR network at the Grand Bargain. Now, out of curiosity for our audience, how did it start with NEAR network? What happened and why and how, right, of the NEAR network?
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually tell everybody that the NEAR network is actually a nascent network. We've been in existence for 6 years, but the 6 years feel like yesterday. So it started with one of our founders, the Adesso organization based in Nairobi in East Africa. Right. And they asked the question, does there need to be local and national civil society organizations represented in the global discourse when it comes to humanitarian aid and development? And of course there are national and regional networks, but we're the first of our kind in being a Global South network.
Right. The one who stand up and call itself a Global South, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, on that regard, Heibak, the question, why are you here in the global platform?
So for me, actually, there's a primary objective and a secondary objective. My primary objective was actually to meet our members and to meet the national networks and to be able to see them in one place and to be able to talk about the Global South agenda and to be able to build that. The second is, I think it's really important for there to be proper representation of the Global South. More, I'm hoping, in the future, but positive representation in platforms and in conferences such as this one.
Right. So that's answering to the question, why are you here in the platform? Now, my second question, what are you doing with the disaster, because Global Platform for Disaster. So what's the connectivity between the NEAR network and the disaster and the Global South movement?
Yeah, so we have several hundred organizations, and our organizations fall under the 3 buckets of humanitarian organizations, development organizations, and peace-building organizations.
Okay.
And we talk about...
So this is like this nexus of the development, conflict, and disaster, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as they talk about nexus and they talk about this kind of continuum, that's exactly what local actors represent. They represent, they could be an education organization, but a disaster hits and they become a disaster response organization. And so for us, the really important kind of message that we want to put across is that it's local actors that are there before, during, and after a disaster. And so when you talk about nexus, you actually should be talking to local constituencies and local organizations. And they're the ones who should be leading the conversation of what resilience is, alongside, of course, the government.
Right. Now, typically, local organizations, as you said, they are youth organization, women association, who are forced by circumstances to stand up and respond to crisis, including from disaster. They rarely call themselves humanitarian.
Yes.
They might call themselves vegetarian or pescatarian, but not humanitarian, right? Now, so there are occasions where the crisis becomes so spectacular, it becomes national crisis. Or God forbid, become international crisis. But by far, they're all locals, right? So the question now, the intersection between disaster and humanitarian itself, right? You said earlier in that continuum, right? What is NEAR Network's agenda in strengthening, if not literacy, perhaps even competence of local organizations to be conversant about disaster risk so that they could engage with meaningful platform like this? So what's the agenda? It could be organizational, could be financial, could be anything. So what's the agenda of the network?
So we actually have two principles or priorities that we work with. Our mission is very much about reinventing the aid system to one that's more localized. For us, the two areas are advocacy and influencing, and the second area is around innovative financing, because resources are the bedrock of the conversation.
It is. Yes.
And so for us, it's really about ensuring that when we talk about the aid system as a whole, that there's representation of Global South civil society, in particular country-based engagement, that there is an opportunity for system strength, and that the system starts to become one that's localized, one that's contextualized, and not necessarily one that's cookie cutter. And so for us, those are some of the most important things, and as we look towards the localization agenda, as they say, or decolonization agenda, as they say.
There has been several sessions, even in this Rumah Resiliensi Indonesia, about localization, mostly from the perspective of local colleagues, right? It seems like that it means different things. Yes. But you said you want to have the network to reinvent, among others, through localization. So this reinvention you described already. My question to you now, from here onward, right, looking forward, what is NEAR Network's strategies and agenda to build this Global South identity, if you like, but also force that will make the local actors truly lead the things that they need to lead? Yeah, so it's just simply about what are the key strategies of the network?
It's interesting that you say that, because our strategy is a strategy of our members. We're a membership-based organization. And so right now we're in between a strategic session. And within that strategic session, it was to ensure that we have representation at a multitude of global processes. The Grand Bargain, as you mentioned, IASC, and various others. And so for us right now, it's introduction, but we play three very important roles, which I believe, one is a facilitator, to be able to facilitate the Global South collective voice. The second is a convener, to be able to bring together at the regional, national, and global level, global civil society organizations. And then ultimately at the end, it's to be able to have the message directly from the local to the national to the regional to the global level. And so for us, every key message that we actually put forward is actually from our members directly to the global discourse.
This is the pipeline that in the past did not exist.
It did not.
And now you built it with the network so that the pipeline is there. Now, the pipeline would require, you know, the upper end to talk to something.
Yes.
But I'm asking about the lower end of that pipeline, right?
Yes.
I would like you to speak to our colleagues in the Global South and give them three key messages how to get them to be part of the NEAR network as a Global South network. So colleagues, I would like to invite Hibak to speak directly to you, appeal to you, invite you and drag you, screaming and kicking, to be part of the network and do this noble thing together, or actually a practical thing together. So Hibak, speak to our audience.
Yeah, thank you, Puji. Look, let's be realistic. When it comes to humanitarian development policies and procedures, it comes from the global discourse. It comes from the global north. And for us, the most important thing is to ensure that local actors and local civil society actually are the ones directing the policies and the practices. And so for us, it's hugely dependent on how local organizations engage. And there's also an ability to be able to cross-learn. Puji is one of the leaders within the NEAR network, but we have a diverse amount across Latin America, Caribbean, around the Africa, around the MENA region, and around Asia and Pacific. So I would ask you to go to the website near.ngo and to be able to look at the different priorities that we have and to please engage, because those are the decisions that are made on how financing goes to the country, how the humanitarian sector is coordinated, and ultimately how responses are led. And so let's get to a place where it's actually really locally led, and we're pushing forward the localization agenda to be one that's true and that one that's effective.
Thank you, Hibak. So, colleagues, that's a key message from Hibak, from NEAR Network, for us to join hands, right, to build the vehicle that we're gonna ride to the to the destination. If you don't build it with us, it will never get there.
True.
Right? So with that, Hibak, thank you very much to sparing your time in between the global platform to share your thought with our audience and our colleagues in the Global South. Thanks again, and I hope to see you in the global platform session after this.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen and friends, this is Hibak Khalfan from Near Network, and I'm Puji Puji.